Phoenix Down Radio is on the air.
Welcome everybody to Phoenix Down Radio, episode number 121. I'm your host, Klauss Nightbringer. Joining me today, we have Seyrr Timono. Welcome, Seyrr. How are you today?
I'm still alive, somehow.
Yay! And we have Taliz Marvelous. What's going on, buddy?
Whole lot of nothing, and I'm super okay with it.
Yeah, lots and lots of nothing. But, at least in my world, there's a slight bit of normalcy starting back. I was actually called back to my job, so I'm back to work, kind of. Well, I am. It's just, we're not open yet. We're getting a bunch of the behind-the-scenes stuff done, and I have to get up at 4:30 in the morning again.
Gross.
Yeah, for me, it's But I mean, on the plus side, it's kind of nice to have a little bit of structure back. So I guess I can't complain too much.
I mean, you can always complain.
Yeah, just nobody listens.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, and why complain if nobody's going to listen? I mean, then it's like you're just talking to a wall. Or
Okay,
you're like you're like Taliz or something.
Yeah, I'm a wall. Wait.
At least you're not just another brick in the wall.
We don't need
and demonetized.
Education. Yeah, no, I ruined it.
Eventually.
It's ruined.
Yeah. But like I said, day by day, things are starting to get a little bit better. Though, a little bit of a note on show-related news. Starting with the next episode, we will be returning back to our normal Saturday night schedule. So on May 30th, we will have episode 122. So back to Saturday nights, which would be kind of nice. Seeing as tomorrow morning I have to be up at 4:30 in the morning. After getting this done, I probably won't be going to bed till at least midnight. So yeah.
Yeah, getting back to that regular work schedule.
Yeah. And
definitely worth it.
Instead of 4:10s, I'm working 5/8s, so I have to drive every day to work.
Not ideal, but again, something is better than nothing.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, I'm not complaining too hard. It's just getting used to change, and change is always a thing.
Yeah, there's probably going to be a bit more of it before all is said and done.
Yeah, hopefully we get some positive change coming out. I mean, I've noticed a lot of states are relaxing a lot of their stay-at-home orders. Some of them have been completely repealed, and I feel sorry for those people. Other states are taking it slowly, and hopefully with the right things happening, we can see some positive change and get into a little bit of normalcy.
Yeah, the library's been working on its plan for what kind of services we can offer. That would still pretty much like a full reopening probably isn't happening until there's a vaccine available. I love the little kids. Story time is fun. Oh my God, they will not keep apart from each other.
No,
absolutely not.
Kids want
I
to
know
play.
for our state, we have a mountain range that splits the east and west half of the state. And the east half is a desert and the west half is wetlands. And when I did a delivery to the eastern half of the state a couple days ago, I had to stop and get gas, and I went to a grocery store to grab some snacks and whatnot, and there's nothing over there. There's no masks, there's no arrows, there's no one-way aisles, there's no 6-foot tape markings on the ground. There's just nothing. There's absolutely nothing going on the eastern half of the state. Western half of the state, people get violent if you're nearby and you're not wearing a mask or you're not wearing the gloves that they think you should be wearing. It's insane. It's so different.
Well, the population density is very different as well between the two areas.
Oh yeah,
the thing is, we are going to have a fascinating controlled experiment.
Eastern Washington as a whole versus like King County as a whole, I think King County is still bigger, like
as far
population wise.
It's very possible. Well, I mean, King County, that's Seattle, Tacoma, and all of the surrounding areas, correct?
No, it's just Seattle, and I mean, it basically is just Seattle at this point, and then all the little areas that used to be Seattle and incorporated sometime in the last 25 years. It doesn't have any. The next biggest city is in King County is like Bellevue. Like it's not that big.
Yeah, and the only big city outside of or on the eastern side is going to be Spokane.
And that's a 4-hour and 18-minute drive from Redmond.
Because you know this because you did this a couple of days ago.
Ugh, yeah. I was supposed to leave in the morning, and then that didn't happen. And then late afternoon, they're like, "Hey, fun fact." I'm like, "You guys suck." So I got home at 1:45 in the morning.
But hey, you were driving, and driving is fun.
Ever fun?
I mean, it was fun, and I got to like learn all of the words to a bunch of Mariana's Trench songs while I was out there, so it worked out.
Neat.
So, anything else you guys have been up to that's been interesting? Because I know you guys haven't been playing the game. Well, we'll get into this more in the news too, but I mean, there's just been nothing going on. We are realistically in the content drought right now.
And it's going to be longer than usual.
Mm-hmm. Well, and it's not just a content drought, it's a news drought for Final Fantasy XIV. We have one piece of news to talk about.
I mean, quite frankly, looking over my activities of the past 2 weeks, I'm like, that marks off a number of things on most depressive order checklists.
You should talk to your therapist about that.
Yeah. That's the plan.
Good.
Also, Bannon literally just dead ass texted me and was like, "There's 1 million more people in King County than all of Eastern Washington."
Holy shit.
So thanks for the fact check, Bannon. I have no idea how many people are anywhere.
Phoenix Down Radio, where we have people who fact check for us.
It's great. It's great.
We love our listening audience. So if you're listening to this on the podcast, come join us sometime live at twitch.tv/Phoenix Down Radio. Like I said, next Saturday the 30th would be a great time to do that. So
the opportunity to go back to the old script. We're live every other Saturday night at twitch.tv/Phoenix Down Radio.
Correct. Instead of these temporary Sundays where I was delivering pizzas on Saturdays instead.
Sundays, bloody Sundays?
Did we release Charmeleon again?
Anyway,
Nothing.
Moving on.
Really?
Yeah, this is what you wanted.
Son of a bitch!
Actually, no, you wanted.
There it is.
See, I'm getting used to the locations of the new stuff on the board, so forgive me. I'm going to screw it up a lot. I'll have to like write it down. That kind of defeats the purpose.
It's very on brand for us.
That's true. All right, let's get into some of that gaming community news. Talking about Final Fantasy XIV, our one piece of news is tomorrow starts the Moogle Treasure Trove Hunt for Law.
Yes. Thank God.
There is no law in this brave new world. What?
I am the law. I don't have a soundbite for that, so I had to make it up.
Rip. I like the Moogle Treasure Troves. They're fun.
It's something to do, and it's going to be an extended period as well, because this is going until the start of 5.3, and since we're not getting that until almost July, yeah, we've got a month and a half of this.
The fact they're also just like, here's a way for you to engage with a bunch of specific content that has bonuses, and the way that like when we came into Shadowbringers, we were like, oh, wow, Crystal Tower is really important. I wonder if that's why they gave us a reason to do Crystal Tower for the last 2 months before this expansion. So every time the Moogle Treasure Trove comes out, I'm more interested in seeing what they are incentivizing so that we can see what's going to affect what we're doing next.
Same, actually.
Yeah, so I put a link in the Twitch chat, so if you guys want to open that up, it'll show you exactly what is going to be giving what for rewards. The only new items that we're getting are a Mama Shiba neckerchief and a Kakiran earring. For those of you who have been having difficulty getting certain mounts, the Ixian Clarion, so if you've been having trouble with the Ixian Fate, Demonic Lantern Whistle, and the Reveling Kamui Fife. So you can get that the Susano mount if you, instead of having to go in here.
Let the revels begin!
I don't know. I could go for some revels.
Yeah,
That sounds good.
I think that soundbite is actually from Team Fortress 2.
Might be. But like,
still.
I'm looking at this like Aurum Vale, Cutter's Cry, Sunken Temple of Quarn.
I mean,
I haven't touched Quarn in years, like actual years.
Yeah.
It'll be
But
interesting to go back in and see what we look like now.
Prey is still going to be an amazing place to go.
Always.
Especially for me, since I'm still working on leveling up a lot of jobs. I think I'm working on my monk now. I got to 51. So that's
Plus that hot Sid Nero action.
Jesus, of course.
It is Eorzea's greatest love story, and I will not hear anything against it.
You are technically correct. The best kind of correct.
Damn right I am.
Seyrr, if I end up working at the dock worker position that I get, would you like me to look into mooring so that you could have somewhere to put your ship?
I mean, it's practically canon. Did you see that side story? It was filled with smoldering.
Do you know what
It
else
was filled
canon?
with smoldering subtext.
Do you know what else cannons do?
fire you to the sun.
They sink ships. Moving on.
I'm a warmonger. I have a cannon stab. I don't know why. Like, it was like the worst thing to give me.
So yeah, Praetorium will give 10 tomes. Castrum and the Orban Monastery will give 7 tomes each. The Lighthouse will give 6. And if you get stuck in Rabanastre, Orem Vale, or Hidden Gorge, you'll get 5 tomes. Cutter's
So
Cry
yeah,
gives
we've got-
4.
Please do Rabanastre. Please. Someone.
we've got-
Anyone.
We got the entire Return to Evilly set there, so it looks like, especially given that that's needed for the resistance weapon content.
It's going to help
It
people
looks
with
like
those
they really want
queues.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, I got a resistance weapon that instantly took me, it was 15 eye levels and 5 guaranteed melds, like in one shot. It's like,
Right.
oh, all right. They really want to make sure that we have our stuff together. Also, Bannon in the chat says that Hyperion is caught up on Skybuilder's stuff, if that counts as news.
No, because it's shit content.
Rude.
Sorry, but I've expressed my opinion on Skybuilder's stuff right now, and yeah,
Your incorrect opinion.
no. My correct opinion.
Gone in there in ages. I went in and like there was a quest available, but I couldn't find it. I didn't quite understand what I was missing.
I'll check the I'll check the requirements really fast on that. But yeah, one of the things they add is when all of the construction is complete, there's a little set of quests relating to the people that are moving in.
I'll have to take a
okay.
peek at that. It's been about a week since I've been in there, and I did see houses. So I got to see what the small houses look like in a medium house. They haven't shown any of the mansions yet.
Oh, seriously? That's cool.
Yeah.
Well, also, like, the story stuff seems to be implying that this is a district for actual Ishgardians. Now, our houses may come a little bit later.
Yeah. But I'm still thinking that this is going to end up being a housing district.
Oh, yeah. Like, the various... Oh, I'm pretty sure it's showing us what the districts will look like.
Can you imagine the utter chaos that would ensue if they said, "Oh yeah, thanks for building this, and we're not giving any more player housing"?
Actual...
Pretty sure there would be actual players sleeping in Shinjuku outside the building until they gave it to us.
Yeah.
That would be a mess.
It would not be pretty.
No, I haven't checked the Skybuilder stuff. I think I have a couple of the tools, but not a lot.
Yeah.
I've got almost all the Dragon Sung tools at this point, so...
I've got almost all the things you can buy with script to make the tools. I just haven't been damned to actually make the items yet. One of these days. One of these days. Like I said, I've been leveling 3 different jobs, so and trying to keep capping on tomes, because you got to keep leveling up or getting all the gear for all the leveled up jobs.
And trying to stay sane.
Oh,
I do my
gave
12
up.
deliveries a week, and that has kept me very, very full on crafting tomes.
I just, I gave up on being sane a long time ago.
I turned a whole bunch of my leftover materials into yellow script items, and stockpiled all the ones I would need like a month ago.
Though I will say
that's
this.
smart.
I will say this. If you're like me and have been hoarding the gathering items from Diadem, you know, to maybe that you were thinking you were going to craft them later on, either craft them now in the next couple of weeks or sell the items, because once 5.3 comes, those items are going to be worthless. Like literally.
Dude, Diadem items drop in value very quickly.
Mm-hmm. But
Yeah,
I mean,
I don't know
it's going to be
specific
less than
time
nothing.
frame. But given that I don't know the specific time frame for when they do it, but it's reasonable to think that they'll have the, hey, you can't use items from the previous phase, so you don't get to jumpstart on the next one.
It's going to be start of 5.3.
Then yeah.
So like I said, either use them now,
Good Lord willing, and the creek don't rise.
or sell them right away. Just get rid of them, because there's no sense hanging on to them. Otherwise, you're just going to be wasting space. But yeah, that's basically all there's been for Final Fantasy XIV news. I mean, there are a couple of interviews out there, I'm sure. But I mean, this was the only article on the Lodestone that was new since the last episode 2 weeks ago.
Woo!
But I am excited to start getting the tomes, and I don't know what I'm going to get with those tomes, because the only things that I need are like the glamour stuff.
Yeah, I wasn't quite sure what of the things no, I have all the triple triad cards.
Mm-hmm. You have the
Man,
Calca
I
and
remember
Brina minions.
Huh?
You have the Calca and Brina minions.
I don't. I may go for those. I've never I barely even see them drop. But I remember the last event. I spent. God, what's his name? The guy. I spent like 4 hours the night before grinding on triple triad for a Hancock card, and then they added it as one of the prizes.
Sucks to be you.
How does that make you feel, Seyrr? Tell us honestly. Don't hold back.
I mean,
Open up.
I got the Hancock card, so on a certain level, I'm like, whatever. I got it taken care of. I don't have to farm shit. This is fine.
Fair
True.
enough.
But there was a little bit of, I could have slept at a reasonable time.
Psh, sleep is for the weak.
Huh. I must be so strong.
All right, let's jump into some Final Fantasy XI news. Yeah, we're going to talk about 11.
Wait, what? What year is it?
It's 2020, and Final Fantasy XI is 18 years old this week.
Happy
yeah.
birthday, old game.
All of those jailbait protagonists are finally legal.
Wait, what?
Dude, it is like a formulaic structure of FF11. Every expansion, you meet your perky jailbait character. You go on. Like, Adeline at least had the thing where you could say, yeah, I'm just staring at their chest. It didn't pretend.
Phoenix Down Radio does not condone anything that Seyrr is saying.
I mean, that's generally true. I don't know why you feel the need to call it out this time.
Because I'm
Sound
protecting
Radio
my
and
ass,
Toast are
okay?
solely responsible for its content.
But no, like, someone back me up here. FF11 always has, like, the perky jailbait character.
Essie, please don't sue us.
It's literary analysis. It's protected speech.
Essie, please
Seyrr's
don't
gonna
sue
have a
us.
good time with that. We're gonna move on talking about a game that we played 20 years ago.
All right, so I posted an article from Gamerscape talking about the May update. There was supposed to have been a Vana'versary event, but due to world events, has been postponed.
I'm sure they'll try to figure out something they can do at some point for it.
Yep. There are plans to actually reintroduce the event at a later date, but what they do still have going on is a Return to Vana'diel campaign. From now until May 25th, if you have not subscribed to the game in a while, you can actually sign into your character and see what's going on in the game. I probably won't
Sign
do
in,
that.
update, figure out how the UI works again, because it's been 10 years.
And then you're on May
Oh
24th.
God, the UI is going to
and-
kill me.
I mean, just to update the game is going to take until May 23rd.
Yeah.
It's just
Part of me still wants
even
to,
with
though.
fast
A little bit, yeah.
Yeah, you're not wrong. If not only just to see how fast it runs on my new laptop.
Oh, did that finally show up?
Yes, I did actually get that this week.
Sweet.
Woo!
at the same time as I got my Go XLR. I should
You
have
got all
talked about
kinds
that.
of toys.
I should have talked about that at the top of the episode, huh?
Probably, yeah.
I didn't think anybody cared because I mean it's just like stuff I talk about on the daily streams. But I suppose it's not everybody who listens to the podcast tunes into the daily streams. So yeah,
You got your new toys, and then you had to go back to work. That sounds about right.
Yeah, I mean I ordered the new toys, saw them coming in, got a call about 12 hours later saying, hey, you're coming back to work. Shit. So yeah.
Oh.
I did take Tuesday off so I could make sure to be here for the deliveries because I'm not gonna let that much technology sit on my doorstep while I'm at work.
Prudent.
Yeah.
Plus, I wanted to play with it.
Yeah.
Prudent and understandable.
But no. For those of you who don't know what a Go XLR is, it's a fabulous little streaming tool. It's currently replacing my mixing board. It's got its own little sliders. It's got a sample pad. It's got some effects.
Like I can sound like a squirrel if I want to.
Or I
Okay,
can
God,
sound
Klauss,
like
warn
a
us when you're
terrible
gonna do that
robot.
shit.
Dude, seriously, that whole foamy filter needs to just die in a fire.
I love the foamy filter. What the fuck are you talking
No,
about?
God,
Oh my God, it sounds
Bigger
wrong.
and some cream cheese.
everything about this is terrible.
Is this punishment for all the things I did?
Yes. This is
Oh.
divine punishment from above.
Okay, that's actually kind of fair then. I deserve this.
And yes, Bannon, honestly, here's the problem. If we tried to teach Dexy to use this board, I don't know what she would do because I don't think her brain would operate in the correct direction long enough for her to learn how to use the board. Our friend Dexy is very squirrel centric.
Yeah, that's
Oh,
true.
dear.
This is a fun filter, though. It makes you sound like you're on a radio.
If we want to bring our podcast back a few decades,
Wait, Ken, I need you to say a couple of words under that filter for me.
Oh dear.
I know where we're going with this.
How long did it take for this to become about porn?
It's not about porn.
Oh, what are you even doing then?
4 words.
Go for it.
War never changes.
War never changes.
There we go. Cool. I'm happy. I'm out. My day
Okay, I
is
have to
made.
admit that was good.
Exactly. And Klauss, I need to roll back a statement I made offline. I do like some PC games. Fallout 2 was freaking awesome.
But yeah, it's got that, and like I said, I've got 3 different pads of things. I mean, I have a pad dedicated strictly to
A few moments later,
all the way through.
one eternity later.
I don't talk that much. Oh wait, yeah.
Plus, if it gets too bad, I can start all the time.
Not for nothing, Seyrr, but
Tell
when
us
the
about your
shoe
opinions
fits.
on Lords of Verminion.
Not well if you got, and then you go.
There we go.
Or if things get too bad, I can go.
I don't know that they're using that one yet. You might need to switch to CQD.
For God's sake.
More
Listeners, I
random.
deal with this every 2
So,
weeks. Just
anyway,
throw that out there.
Just throw, but what I want to just throw out there real quick, if the audio quality has changed, please let us know. Email podcast@phoenixradio.com. Hit us up on Twitter @PHXDNRadio. Tell me what you think of the setup, because I want to make sure that the quality is still as high as we can get it for you guys, because I'm still tweaking and working with all of this. I want to make sure it still sounds the best it can. So let us know if it's an improvement, if we need to make changes. Like when I first got the mic, there was a long process to try and make that work properly. I think we're at a good place, but I want to hear from you guys, so let us know.
You heard it here first. Klauss will keep tweaking until he's happy with it.
Oh my.
So, and then the other piece of equipment that I got is I actually bought a new laptop.
Hey.
With the newest Ryzen 4000 processor.
Shiny.
I don't know what that is, but it sounds good.
It's really actually freaking amazing. It's fast. It's It's 8 cores, 16 threads. It just chews through data. It's really nice. It's
So hyperthreading is still a thing?
yes. Well, it's not. They don't.
Okay.
AMD doesn't call it hyperthreading. They call it something else.
Okay.
But it's hyper-threading.
Yeah, it's multi-threaded.
Okay. The last PC I built, I think was Pentium 4, something like that. It was a while ago.
When hyperthreading first came out,
Yeah.
when it was a big deal, Pentium 4 with hyperthreading.
And it was like, cool. Does that mean you need a better fan? Because, like, generally that's what that means.
I really want to make a joke about like Egyptian cotton here.
Is it the
What,
fabric
like
of your life?
12,000 thread count?
Exactly, hyper-threading.
I hate you.
Yeah, that's deserved.
Not really. Anyway,
the other thing
we've talked about toys for a while.
No,
What's next on our list
one
of
more
stuff?
thing. It also has an RTX 2060 in it. So
I don't know what those letters mean.
It means it can do ray tracing.
Sure.
RTX equals good. I mean, Seyrr.
Good. There we go.
So yeah. Anyway, okay. I suppose that's enough of me talking about the toys that I got this last week. So, I mean,
I'm glad that you have things you like.
well, this coming from the guy who has like no things. Well, except for I remember you telling me that you started ordering a whole bunch of Matchbox cars. and
I
Hot Wheels.
did. I've ordered 3 Matchbox cars and I bought a base.
So he tripled his worldly possessions.
I also bought a pair of headlights and returned them and bought another pair of headlights.
But that goes in your car, so then that still only counts as one.
Is that how that works? Because, dude, I got some bad news. I bought a lot of things. They're all in the car.
Oh, then you only have one thing, so you're good.
I feel like we kind of got a Ship of Theseus thing going here.
Well, see, I have one house, so I only have one thing. It's just full of stuff, but it's only one thing.
Because, like,
Yeah.
otherwise, I have 2 rotors, 2 sets of brake pads, so that's 6 things.
Don't forget all the different fuses and the cup holders.
What's a cup holder?
It's the thing you put your sodas in.
What's a cup holder?
He has cars before they had cup holders.
No, I have cars that go fast, so they don't have cup holders.
Oh.
But
The
then where
Corolla
do
does. The Corolla does, to be fair. The MR2 did not.
where do you put your sodas?
You're going too fast. You don't have time.
Okay, continuing on with the Final Fantasy XI news now.
Oh, okay.
Not that I don't want to talk about cars, but just this isn't car talk, all right?
Yeah, neither of us has an annoying enough voice for that.
I've tried. Sorry, man.
Is this annoying enough for you?
Sweet Jesus, why?
It is annoying, but it's the wrong kind of annoying here.
All right, so we talked about May 16th marking the 18th anniversary of Final Fantasy XI. This last bit of information that we found, apparently there were a number of images leaked from the remake.
Possibly.
I mean,
probably, yes.
The
But
fact
until it's like
the fact that they were ordered to be taken down by a DMCA request from Nexon
Yeah.
basically
not hard proof,
confirms
but
it.
it's very, very strong circumstantial evidence. Like, it's not proven, but I would put money on it.
If you want to make if you want to ascertain for yourself, thank God for the Internet Archive. They were able to pull some of the archive some of the information before it was pulled down. And if you want to take a look at that, I did link to the Wayback Machine, so you can go take a look. And oh my God, it looks really good.
Not gonna lie, I got some feels just from looking at him.
I did too. I was like, I'm very happy.
The skinning and amount of graphical improvements. I mean, it's on the level of 14 or better.
I mean, the thing that really struck me about it is, remember when we talked before about how with this FF7 remake, how it looked like what my memories are?
Yeah, this is what I remember in my head Saruta Baruta looking like.
Yeah, looking at the actual pictures, like, oh yeah, I guess it was that. But my brain has this like, oh, it was a thing, and there was this thing of water over there, and my brain has kind of upgraded to that, and this is again matching. So,
Yep.
so yeah, I got kind of the same feeling of this is what my brain remembers, even though I know it's not a true memory.
Now I got. Now I have some. I think it's the Selbina music in my head. Okay. We get it.
Hey, who else sat in there forever waiting for a Valkyrie party?
Or just waiting for the boat.
Possibly. Oh God, no waiting for boats. No. Every time I see water in 14 for the first little bit there, I was like, no. Oh, cutscene. Whew. I was like, every time there was like this moment of terror that my heart started to seize.
What, you didn't want the pirates or the sea horror to come get you?
Not particularly, no.
Here we are. Summon your small shell minion. The mere sight of this wee wavekin may cause severe psychological trauma to those who spent years of their lives on faraway shores calling his relatives.
Is that an 11 or is that a 14 minion?
Yeah.
Yes. Check your inventory for a small shell.
Hang on.
There's a good chance you have it and just forgot about it.
There's an extremely good chance. I went minion collecting for like a couple of months.
Yeah,
and
I mean,
Then yeah, you almost certainly have it. It's an easy one to get.
Yeah, isn't it the one from the Fade outside of Costa?
I think so.
It's not Lupus.
That's a good one.
I think that's where it's from.
I don't have that one.
Well, you better go to Costa and wait for that Fate to pop.
Here, I'll take a picture and put it in the Discord just so you can see it.
All right.
You said small shells? What's called or soft shell?
Small shell, one word.
And it's a little blue snipper or clipper actually. Snipper's the other crab. I think.
There you go. You have a picture.
Appreciate you, buddy. Oh God, yeah.
And there's that psychological trauma.
Anyway.
All right.
Final Fantasy XI, the game that traumatized us all, and we can barely talk about it playing playable again because it traumatized us all.
Yeah, we still look at fondly through rose-colored glasses.
You have rose-colored glasses? Mine are like crimson at this point.
Good times.
You control it with the 10 key. Okay, let's do this.
I mean, it was a game you could play entirely on the keyboard, which was nice.
That was a very cool thing. I did like that more than having to try to use mouse and keyboard simultaneously. You always had keyboard control.
Yep.
Also, the Mog House for storage was rad. I will take that back every day of the week.
And the fact that every player had housing.
Every player had instance customizable, usable.
Though only the inside.
I am okay with that.
Well, until you got your island. Which I never really played with.
I spent so much time in my Mog garden. So much time.
Like I said, the only thing that I remember, like I said, the Mog Island came later, after I had already left, so I have very little experience with it, but I spent a lot of time growing things like crystals and things like that in the pots.
Yep. Oh, man.
Housing.
Okay, I'm going to read.
I missed that.
So Sayr's going to download 11 and play that for the next few days, apparently. Well, I know Nicknar has actually been spending a lot of time in 11, so...
I lost a couple people in FFTCG to playing 11 for a while. I was like, why? And they're like, go to Ashura. There's a crap load of US English-speaking players.
Yeah, that's basically the server that people are on. I think Nicknar's on Ashura as well.
And it's like, oh, okay.
I was on more merges. I'm still on Carbuncle.
I don't remember where I was.
I was, like I said, I was originally on Midgard Stormer, which got absorbed into Quetzalcoatl, and then I moved to Behemoth when I started 14.
But then you went back and all your link pearls are busted, so you can't find anything anyway.
Well, they were all busted when I went back before 14 came out. Well, actually, shortly.
Yeah.
But before ARR came out, I should say, because I tried to go back afterwards, or it might have even been before then. So I don't remember when all the server mergers were, because I would take 3-month breaks.
Yep.
Like what a lot of people do in this game, but you didn't have to worry about signing in every 45 days and losing your house otherwise.
Though there was all this. Oh God. Remember how with chocobo raising you could do one thing wrong and 2 months worth of work would be wiped out?
That's why I stopped doing it.
Yep.
Yeah.
That was bad.
They fixed it, I believe, so.
Well, they had to. It was unplayable.
And I tried really hard to raise chocobos until I missed one day.
Butt waggle.
Yeah, that was adorable. But like I said, until I messed up and lost, a whole bunch of work, it's like, yeah, no, I think I'll pass.
God, Klauss, do you know
Especially
how
when
good
it's
I
like
was
a
at chocobo digging?
accident.
You were talking over each other.
Sorry.
So who's saying what?
Go ahead.
It's all good. No, I don't
Honestly,
even remember anymore.
Do you know how good I was at chocobo digging? I was like, I had like almost no input delay, and I think I was down to like 15 seconds of zone delay. I was very high ranked chocobo digging, and even then it was a total crapshoot.
I did it a few times.
Oh God, I remember seeing something where apparently someone put incorrect but difficult to verify information on one of the wikis because they didn't want people horning in on chocobo digging.
Yeah. People are terrible.
Yeah, I was just showing to Anonymous about the food descriptions, how they changed them so it actually shows what the food stats do now.
That would be helpful.
Yeah, no, like years of, okay, let's test this, let's swap out the gear. Okay, we think this is a 10% attack increase. What's the accuracy boost? We don't know! Time for hours upon hours of parsing to get an estimate.
So, okay, imagine that, but you got paid minimum wage for it. That's working at Nintendo. Just throwing that out there.
Oh, God, Nintendo sounds horrible. Why
do
does
you think
anyone work there?
I don't anymore. It's
All right.
Yeah, but you're not everyone. Unless you are. Is there some kind of weird reverse solipsism thing going on here?
hey, what is next
Wake
on our
up,
notes,
Alex.
by the way?
Wake up!
All right, let's go ahead and continue on, because that's
But
basically
I'm fucking with his head.
that's
No, there's a fish in a fish tank with a creepy human smile. I want to get out. Let's go.
all right. That's really the majority of Final Fantasy news for this last 2 weeks. I did
That's
try
the
and
shortest news we've had like ever.
and we still ended up stretching it out for about 25 minutes or so.
Well, I
or
mean, we
more.
still
our
did all
best.
of our customary verbal shit posting.
Yeah, that's true. Though I did try and look for some like news on Final Fantasy VII Remake. The biggest news thing they're talking about is the fact that there's no idea as to when Part 2 is coming out. Duh. I mean, we're probably at least 3 years out. But also,
years.
well, I mean, if you think about it, it was announced in 2015. There was 2 years of development that happened at a third-party company, and that they basically scrapped all of and brought it back in-house, which was 2017, and the game was released in 2020.
So 3 years, yeah.
Though I
could imagine they do some parts of this faster now.
because they have already created a lot of the base work. So, I mean, there is the potential we could get something in 2021, 2022, but to be safe, let's figure 2023.
Yeah.
I mean, that's just people speculating because they have nothing else to talk about right now because there's no fucking news because we're all fucking stuck at home because of some goddamn virus.
Breathe.
Tell us how you really feel.
Oh,
There, is that better?
hang on, Klauss.
Yeah.
I did get this leak.
Okay, let me take a
Go
peek
ahead,
at
put
that.
that in the chat for you.
Sorry, that page doesn't exist.
Aw.
Wow.
Yep.
Okay,
I mean,
hey. Hang on, I gotcha.
I did read a couple of articles from CBR.com saying why Cloud shouldn't date Tifa or Aerith, and that Tifa and Aerith should be dating each other. Is that interesting?
Sure. Works for me.
I didn't think it was quote unquote newsworthy, but
You know, sometimes.
I mean, you can take your shipping however you want, but I will say that.
Well, that
I
and
will
that
say
also
gold
frees up
plate-
Cloud to be taken by Zach.
Of course.
Too soon, Seyrr.
Here we are. I found the image.
Oh, god damn it. I want that in my life.
You know that you need to give it to the people watching.
Well, you can do the same.
Okay.
You
Can
have
I just paste the image into
Yes.
the Twitch?
no,
Yes.
you have to. It has to be a
Yes.
link.
Okay,
Yes.
this is fixable.
Yeah, you have to. You can
All
post the
right.
link
Don't mind
into
us
the.
as we actually start shit posting. Hang on.
Yeah. Anyway.
There we go. There we are. Scenes from the ending of part 2.
That's if you only pay the $50 DLC fee.
And this is what Seyrr wants. The ship. It's the ship that's shipping the shipping ships. If anybody has seen that, just have fun.
All right.
Either click on the link in the chat or find it on your own.
All right. I think we're done ship posting.
Ba-da-ba-ba-da-ba.
All right then.
All right, so let's go ahead and move on to our discussion topic. A few episodes ago, we had thrown out the idea of, having a discussion on the music of Final Fantasy. Every Monday we do a Final Fantasy Music Monday where we play a whole bunch of different songs from various Final Fantasy games, whether it's directly from the game, if it's a fan rendition, whatever stuff we find out on YouTube and share with everybody. Well, we decided to go ahead with that, and this week we're gonna do the prelude to our this as our topic.
Clever. I like it.
Was it though? Was it?
I like it.
I mean, it works better in my head.
A lot of things do, Klauss.
Yeah.
A lot of things do.
Where's the button?
You are technically correct. You are technically correct. The best kind of correct.
It didn't let me stop it like I wanted it
Also,
to.
it feels uncharacteristically mean for me. I feel bad about that.
No, you don't.
I do a little bit.
I don't think that's true.
I do.
Anyway.
I have feelings.
That's anyway, moving on.
So anyways, music.
Music. So basically, this week, I'd like to talk about what makes Final Fantasy music so iconic. In future, episodes, we will delve deeper into maybe a specific game and talk about the music that comes from that. But for this week, let's go ahead and just do an overarching view as to Final Fantasy music in general, why it's Final Fantasy music, and how that makes us feel, really, as players who've been experiencing this franchise for 30 plus years now.
Yeah, you've got some iconic pieces that kind of like leitmotifs, so recurring bits throughout the series that kind of just scream, okay, this is a Final Fantasy game.
Yeah. Number one being, of course, the Prelude.
Yep. It's a very classic piece. It's pretty easy to play on piano.
Like, it feels like you could just get a harp and do some basic strumming and you're halfway there. I don't actually know. I've never played a harp. I may be completely wrong on this, but it feels like that.
I used to be able to play on ocarina. That was confusing as shit for people. To be playing Prelude on an ocarina.
Yeah.
So
It's the Zelda Final Fantasy crossover we never knew we needed.
You're not wrong. But in the chat, I posted a video to a YouTube medley of different Prelude versions from all the different games, at least all the mainline games. Now, there's a funny little story that comes with the Prelude. This was like the last piece of music that Uematsu-san had penned for the original Final Fantasy game. They needed something to kind of start it, but he could not come up with anything. And the Prelude was basically written in about 5 minutes. And he was never really, he never felt that it was good enough. He always thought he could do so much more, but the executives loved it so much that they said, no, leave it. We want that. And there has been a version of the Prelude in every Final Fantasy game since. And if you
That's how this stuff happens, is you make something by accident or like on a whim, just a shot from the hip, and then that's the thing that people attach themselves to.
Yeah, I think I saw something. He thought of it as kind of like a placeholder.
He just
like, okay, this will have something in there, and I'll come back and fill that in with something proper once I finish this other bit.
I mean, it's
and they're
just
like, yeah, that's good. That's good.
It's a simple arpeggio, but it's just the tone that it has. It's just I'll play the beginning of it from the first, the original Final Fantasy here. Wait, hold on. I don't think it went. That's not going through the. I can make it go through to the podcast in 2 seconds. Here we go. Let's try that one more time. Nope, still not. Well,
I was gonna say I could hear it, but that's probably not working.
I can make it go through. Oh, because I didn't hit that button. Now we can make it go through. We'll get there. And it's slowly ramping up.
Yeah.
I mean, it's just a scale going up and down, but the ethereal sound that it has is just something that is just, it resonates with all of us. And then it gets into the whole,
I hear the menu sounds of selecting
Blink,
response
blink,
rate
blink,
and
blink,
classes and naming my four characters. I hear that sound in my head.
But no, I mean, it's just become an iconic piece. And I mean, if you go and search YouTube for like fan variants of the Prelude, people have come up with some amazing renditions, and it's beautiful to listen to. There are many harp versions. I mean, if you've ever searched for those, oh, it's so good.
There's hundreds of thousands of versions of it, and most of them are incredible. Because of the fact that it's so simple, you can do so much with it. Where it's really complex, you have to do things a very specific way when you're performing it, when you're building it, when you have layers, when you have an 8-bit piece of hardware that can only do so many tones, and you only have so much memory space. There's only so much you can do for music. So it had to be simplified. And then as it's grown and evolved, it still maintains, like you said, that ethereal feeling of the first time you hear it.
And then another. Go ahead. Sorry, Seyrr. Go ahead. I'm
reminded of actually a video I saw talking about. So in library education stuff, there's a whole question of STEM, like the science, technology, engineering, math education, and there's been a movement to add an A to bring in art. And I often hear people talking about, oh, well, why are you bringing all this other unrelated stuff? But one of the things that I saw as a response to it was talking about looking at something like those musical pieces, or looking at some of the old style graphics where it's like there's actually amazing technical limitations that they're working under, but having a good understanding of art gives them good idea of what they can do with this, how they can take advantage of different properties, different tricks, how the various bits will put together so that your eye or your ear will process it in a different way. And so it's saying, hey, there's this place for this understanding of art in making this, that having that fused with the grasp of the technology lets you make some things that you wouldn't have been able to do otherwise.
Definitely.
Focusing on the musical thing today, but looking at the artistic reasons that we have so many weird things, especially in like the NES era. Mario's mustache, art limitation. Mega Man being blue, art limitation. Palette swaps for Final Fantasy monsters, art limitation. That's all they were, and yet now we're so well known for those things.
Yeah, you kind of like, okay, this is what I have to work with, and can make in that limitation. And it starts to develop its own aesthetic.
Yeah.
It does. It's the limitation breeds creativity.
Yep. All right, so I would say Prelude is probably one of the #1 songs that people think of when they think of Final Fantasy. But there's always, you know, this amazing piece of music as well. Give it a second here. Come on. Come on, YouTube.
Lamp shading. I just stuck my fist in the air. Did everybody else stick their fist in the air?
No, but I was kind of doing like a little bouncing thing.
Yeah.
Okay, perfect.
But I mean, that little ditty right there has spawned. I mean, look where we've gone with that.
Oh God, hearing those side by side was incredibly weird.
Yeah.
I mean, that's 30 years right there of the victory theme. Every single Final Fantasy game, except for 13, uses that victory theme.
So every single Final Fantasy game.
You deserve this too.
You are technically correct. The best kind of correct.
Hey, I will rip on games that I love.
No, well,
Good, we don't actually need to go down that road, but I want to launch an objection.
no, overruled.
Oh.
The victory theme, I mean, when I played 11, I mean, that was, you know, every time you leveled up, you would hear that in the background.
I could not resist humming along to it just now.
Yeah.
it's in our heads. I mean, when we hear that, it's like da 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 da. Well, like, was it Prompto in 15 does that?
Yeah, or I think in
random.
Advent Children, Tifa's ringtone. So after a fight, it starts going off.
Yeah, it's the actual the Final Fantasy VII version of it.
It was like Tifa fights, I think was it Reno or Rude in the church, and then after the fight, her phone goes off and it's the fanfare.
I want to say it was because
No.
It was one of the weird guys.
Yeah. Someone. Doesn't matter.
Because it was a martial arts thing, and you know that Rude wouldn't fight Tifa.
Yeah, was it the one with the electric fists?
Probably.
The
I remember
big
it's like
guy.
a martial artist fight.
The big guy, yeah.
Yep.
It was the bigger of the three. He kind of reminds me a little bit of Gladio from 15, now that I think about it. Anyway, so, like I said, the victory theme, you know, anytime you win a battle, you would hear that. Anytime you level up in the MMOs, you would hear that. Like I said, unless you're playing 13, but we won't go
Clearing
there.
a dungeon in 14.
Yeah.
Clearing dungeons. I think 12 did it at like boss fights and like chapter ends and stuff.
Yep.
Yeah, like really significant boss fights.
Yep. And they all had a revision of it, so it's just one of those things that stuck out as well.
Yeah, like the bit that came after could change up a little bit, but there was always that first fanfare bit.
There was always the da 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 da. And then there's always, you know, most people think of the Prelude when they think of a Final Fantasy theme, but there actually was a specific theme that went with Final Fantasy as well.
Yep.
It's just lovely to hear this. You know, this was the spot where you start crossing that bridge after saving Princess Seyrr, and then you're going off to your next adventure, and the world opens up to you.
Yep. Where you first beat Seyrr.
No.
You first beat Garland.
Yep.
You
There we
get
go.
Seyrr. You go back to the castle.
I mean,
you talk to a bunch of NPCs. You're like, I guess I'm level 3 and I have some weapons and a couple of spells. There's a bridge. Let's go. And you have no idea what's about to happen.
Because if you're beating Seyrr, that makes this a very different game and a totally different genre, and it's something that I really don't feel comfortable talking about, okay?
True.
So anyways, Spender has said on multiple occasions that if he ever ended up like owning or ruling some small island nation, that he would use that music for the national anthem.
Yep. It might sound a little bit like this. This is from the part from 15. Now, just imagine those two back to back. Again, a nice.
I do not remember hearing this. It's been so long.
It's the same song.
Yeah.
It just has such a different feeling to it.
But at the same time, like you can recognize the DNA of it.
And it's beautiful.
Mm-hmm.
But it's iconic Final Fantasy. You hear that song, you know, oh my God, Final Fantasy. You know that. And it's just like, wow.
Like it evokes an emotional response.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Now, you want to talk about an emotional response. When I hear these songs, you know exactly what I'm talking about. This is a fun emotional response.
This is where I'm doing the silly dance in my seat.
I mean, who doesn't love chocobos? Now we got Final Fantasy III. How about a little bit of little Final Fantasy XI or Final Fantasy XII? A very different sound, but still very chocobo.
There's so many cool chocobo pieces, and
I mean,
we're going to talk about it a little bit later, but there's a specific performance of chocobo music that always comes up whenever I think of chocobos.
Yeah, it's something where more than the other ones, the chocobo music is the one I've seen in a lot of different styles. I'll go ahead and throw a link in the chat to FF Record Keeper did a ska remix of the chocobo theme.
I mean, it sounds something like this.
I am not hearing.
I'm not hearing nothing.
Oh, it's going out over the stream.
The stream got it at least, so I didn't have something wasn't set quite right, but
yeah, it's fine as long as you guys can hear it. That's what matters.
But like classical versions, techno versions,
rock versions, the surf version,
mambo.
Well, our opening theme was Electric Day Chocobo. You know, the surfer style one.
I wonder if they've done a country version.
Probably.
There's been Brass Day Chocobo. There's been just a lot of different versions of the Chocobo song that have gone out there. There's Crazy Chocobo that starts out with the Chocobo, and then it goes really metal.
Oh, I found a bluegrass version.
As good as you're gonna get, I think.
Well,
yeah.
I don't know if you got here. Let me see if I can get it so you guys can hear it too. I don't think so, unfortunately, but we'll at least get it for the people out on the podcast. If it ever starts. Oh, here we go. It's quite interesting.
Yeah, the sheer breadth of styles on the Chocobo music is what gets me. How it seems to be adaptable to so many different.
Yeah. It lends itself to many different styles, and I think that's one of the great things about it. I mean, I think the Chocobo's theme, I think, is my favorite overall. Just
it's
because
it's a song with very good staying power.
Because
across
it has
every version,
so many different styles and versions. I think that's you get different feelings from it. So, well, actually, no. If you think about it, the racing ones are kind of the have that whole bluegrass feeling too. The racing in 14 has that style.
Oh yeah.
So yeah.
Yeah, no, you're right.
So and then the other creature theme that we've had for quite a while, everybody's favorite little winged. Palm-headed. Which this did not start until Final Fantasy V. Even though Moogles were in the game in Final Fantasy III, they didn't get their own theme until then.
Now, the Moogles are kind of interesting in that while the Chocobo seems to adapt itself to the thing, the Moogle one seems like it stays similar no matter where you are.
Yeah.
I wonder if that's supposed to be kind of a little bit of like the otherworldliness of the Moogle.
I mean, if you think about it and you look at the version in Final Fantasy XIV, let's see if I can cue it up here properly. Give me a second here. The middle bit in the Good King Muggle Mog.
Yep. Let's put it in a minor key.
Where it always is creepy. That's just a music thing. Minor key equals
Yep.
creepy.
But it's still, it's still 100% the Moogle theme.
Oh yeah.
It is.
And it's just it just gives you the kind of happy little thought that it's like, ooh, Moogles. Or if you've ever been to a Distant World or no, not Distant World, a New World Final Fantasy concert, they actually have a Moogle medley that they play during that, which is a lot of fun.
That was the thing I was gonna mention is when we got to concerts was they always have a medley.
Yep.
Because there's so many different Moogle versions.
Yeah, and I believe Distant World has a Chocobo medley that goes with theirs.
Yeah.
I think so. That sounds right.
So yeah, those are some of the recurring themes that we get a lot within the Final Fantasy games. If you look at the battle themes for the first 5 or 6 games, they have a lot of similarities too, but they really vary after that. So I didn't include that one necessarily, but
Yeah, I don't think the first one even had a difference between the regular fights and the boss fights.
I think there was actually a boss fight battle sound. For the major bosses, like, I mean, when you're talking about like the Fiends and Chaos.
Okay. But like other stuff that would reasonably be considered, like a lot of stuff that I might be like, okay, we want to use some kind of boss theme. It's the culminating thing of this dungeon. It's like, nope, same as normal.
Yeah. I mean, when again, it was a thing with limitations. They didn't have the space available to put that many little MIDI tracks within a game.
I think they were probably still working out. Like a lot of those conventions hadn't really been defined yet.
True. And I think once you hit the Super Famicom or Super Nintendo days, they had a little bit more room to work with, and then you got more themes, more more character designs, and the specific sprites. So I think they were able to expand it a lot when they went from the 8-bit to the 16-bit era. So let's talk about the people who've created these masterpieces. Well, I think there's one name that everybody knows about when you're talking about Final Fantasy. When you talk about the music, you talk about Soken. I mean, Uematsu. If you play
I'm willing to say all sorts of controversial things here, but let's go ahead and focus on Uematsu for the moment.
Okay, if you're only familiar with Final Fantasy XIV, Masayoshi Soken is the name that you're thinking of, and he's great.
And there's a couple other really good names. Like, I don't think Uematsu should be the sole name, but he definitely wants to be one of the ones you're talking about if you're talking about this.
But the godfather of Final Fantasy music is, without a doubt, Nobuo Uematsu. I mean,
dude's still at it, isn't he?
Yes, he is recovering. He's much better than when he got sick back in 2018. He's not working full time like he was before. He's taking a little bit more time off, but he is still creating music for Final Fantasy. But from 1986 until 2000, he was the one who created all the songs. He was solely responsible for the music of Final Fantasy 1 through Final Fantasy 9.
That's so incredibly wild.
Just if you look at the music from 1 through 6, a lot of the ancillary music, the battle music, the stuff like that, it was all very, very similar. You could hear the influences between one and the other, but there are special songs that each game has, which we will get into a much deeper discussion on as we talk about the different games. But they all have Uematsu's fingerprints on them. You can tell this is an Uematsu song. It has his feeling. It has his magic.
And when it doesn't, you can also tell that.
Oh, yes, and we'll get into that in just a second. Starting in 2001 with Final Fantasy X, Uematsu brought on other people. Final Fantasy X, the composers, Uematsu was still the primary composer of the music for that, but Masashi Hamauzu and Junya Nakano were also brought on to complement Uematsu's style. There were differences in their styles, but they worked very well together. And then a little side note, some game that I guess exists called Final Fantasy X2 had no music from Final Fantasy X in it. Which was
weird.
It was completely composed by Noriko Matsueda and Takahiko Eguichi. They have a more pop style, which is what they wanted for that game.
Yeah. I mean, especially given that it's sort of like a, hey, we're in this new world, we've got this stuff going on.
They really played an homage to J-pop style within Final Fantasy X too.
They did. And at the time it came out, it was like really booming. So it actually, it fit. You have to look at the whole of the media culture, but it did fit.
At the time, it made sense. Oops, pardon me. But Final Fantasy XI, Uematsu was assisted by Naoshi Mizuta and Kumi Tanioka. This was Uematsu's last game as lead composer for a Final Fantasy game working for Square Enix. He actually left in 2004.
Yep.
And Mizuta was the main composer for the expansions. So when you're looking at like Seekers, Wings of the Goddess, all the different expansions for Final Fantasy XI, they took over. Uematsu was not involved with those.
Now, Uematsu does amazing work, but I do appreciate that they said, hey, we're going to go ahead and give some new voices a chance to shine, get some new styles in there.
Yep.
Kumi Tanioka, FF11 players might remember, was involved with the Star Onions, kind of do they have an equivalent of that for 14? Oh, the Primals, I guess.
The Primals, yeah.
Yeah. But sort of hey, here's a little side band that's playing around with the music. A lot of you may also remember her work from Final Fantasy Crystal Chronicles, where she was using a lot of those old style instruments like the crumhorn and the hurdy-gurdy to really create a sense of a different time. So this was kind of the point where you started seeing a bit of those other styles creeping in, a little bit more of like a variety in the musical styles of Final Fantasy. You really start seeing those there.
But did they use a box or an automaton?
I wouldn't have put it past. When did automatones get invented, anyways?
I don't know. A while ago. Anyway, now if you look at Final Fantasy XII, the theme, the base style of the music for Final Fantasy XII is different from anything else. It has a totally different tone to it. It's kind of
it's not different
okay with it.
It's not different from anything else if you're because it's very reminiscent of a lot of stuff you got from Final Fantasy Tactics or Vagrant Story or other stuff in the Evil East Alliance.
I suppose, but
also, just check, the automaton was actually developed in 1998.
So yeah, it would have been around by then.
Holy crap! It's old enough to dream.
Let's go have a good time.
I need an automaton and a bottle of whiskey stat.
You and me both. But no, this was the first game. Well, actually, no. Uematsu did contribute one song to Final Fantasy XII, and that was the ending theme, Kiss Me Goodbye.
Interesting.
That, otherwise, everything else was composed. It was mainly by Hitoshi Sakimoto, who was assisted by Hayato Matsuo and Masaharu Iwata. I'm going to apologize if I'm slaughtering these names. I'm doing my best. But
you're putting in effort, which is a lot for most people that try, so you're doing fine.
All right. So then 13 was actually the first game that had no songs composed by Uematsu. It was Masashi Hamauzu, who was the main composer for 13. And the fact that they didn't use the victory theme, it I don't like that. I am sad.
I mean, part of me also wonders if some of it was, given that he was no longer part of the company, if there might have been a rights issue. It might have been something where they were trying different stuff while they were making decisions on that.
Though
I also know that Blinded by Light, which was like the main battle theme there, I think actually won a number of awards.
It's an amazing song, don't get me wrong. I love a lot of the music from Final Fantasy 13. It has a very upbeat tempo to it. It's something that I hum quite a bit. Da, da, da.
I bought the 4-disc soundtrack of that because there was so many really, really good tracks on it. I was like, no, this is worth owning a copy of.
Like,
See,
Sunlit Waterscape is an amazing song. There's I mean, like I said, Square Enix does not lack for talent in their musical departments.
Yeah, it's always a little bit tricky, like, because if you've got this brilliant person like Uematsu who can create all this stuff, who can do this wide variety of things, there's no reason not to exploit that. But at the same time, you kind of want to develop. I always think of newspaper comics. For those of you who do not know, a newspaper would be a set of pieces of paper on which news and articles of the day would be delivered to your house before the internet. Yeah.
I
but
feel
so, like,
my bones
boomer.
turning to dust.
But so like the newspaper comics sections, where it'd be like, okay, there's some funny stuff in there. There's some stuff that like, okay, it's kind of tired, but it's been around for a while and people have gotten from it. But it would become something where it's like, okay, the artist on this has passed away and there's not going to be any more new ones. Okay, this thing has just kind of stopped. Okay, this humor is no longer really relevant to anything. It would be nice to get some new fresh faces in there, to have this as a way to kind of like showcase different styles, let some up and coming artists show what they have. But a lot of people would be so resistant to the idea of any kind of change to it.
Like if they don't have Beetle Bailey, they're gonna riot, or Hagar the Horrible, or Garfield.
Like, is the joke the joke in half of those is being married sucks. What's wrong with you straight people? My
brain just got hit with so much stuff in the last 25 seconds. I might need a minute to get it all back.
Also, fun fact, Jim Davis has explicitly said with Garfield, there was no artistic vision. His goal was to create something that would be popular and make a lot of money.
Yes.
He is very open about that.
And also lasagna.
As long as it's not that horrible thing that you were talking about before the show.
Oh, the frozen pizza lasagna?
Yes, well, let's not talk about that abomination again.
Also, why has no one put down Marmaduke yet? Just throwing that out there.
Anyway.
We were too busy with Beetle Bailey jokes, I guess.
No, not like put down as an insult. Put down like that dog is a terror for the safety of everyone in the neighborhood.
Seyrr's a monster. Everyone, just so
I don't like Marmaduke, okay? Sorry, I have a lot of opinions.
I could tell. So back to Final Fantasy 13 music.
Oh, yes. So chats for other artists to show off their stuff and start developing the next generation of talent. That was the point of this. I had a point.
And then Final Fantasy 14 rolls around. And Square Enix hires back Uematsu through his own production company. And Uematsu creates the entirety of what we know as Before Meteor.
Yep. Oh, God. It would be, because he did all the 1.0 music.
Yes. He did all the music for Final Fantasy 1.0. Like I said, if you bought the soundtracks, it would be everything that's on Before Meteor. So it means he did things like Twilight over Thanalan. He did On Windy Meadows. He did Answers.
Yeah, there's a lot. There's a lot of good pieces in it. Like, I kind of like how some of them have a little bit more of a subdued melancholy feel to them. I really love On Windy Meadows. Like, that's the type of thing I will put on as like music for while I'm working. I'm not going for the high energy amped up thing. I'm going for the like, this is something that's calm and mellow and maybe a little bit thoughtful.
There's only so much Eurobeat that you can work to.
Yeah. That said, Primal Judgment, kind of forgettable. Hot take, but kind of forgettable compared to the other Primal themes with our good friend Masayoshi Soken.
Well, what
and all
about
the various...
Torn from the Heavens? Isn't that
Torn
one?
from the Heavens is brutal. I love that song.
I want to say that that's from 1.0, is it not?
I don't think so.
I mean, just
Let me check.
I'm trying to remember. I'm trying to remember which one was.
It was Torn from the Heavens was composed by Soken.
Okay, so that one would have come in. Was that from 2.0 or 3.0?
2.0.
Okay. There's one that I'm trying to think of that it's from.
Where does it appear?
1.0. It's towards the end, I believe. I want to say it has to do with Nail.
Are you thinking of Rise of the White Raven?
Maybe. That might
Corvus
be
Fortis.
Yeah.
Corvus Fortis.
I think that's it.
Corvus Fortis Ascendet.
Sure.
I was a little shaky at the end there.
The effort was made.
Thank you. There's a Imperium, Imperium, Imperium Ave, Ave, Imperium Ave.
Anyway. Don't make me mute you.
Okay, first off, that was frighteningly in sync. Second, you can't interrupt it in the middle of the crescendo.
Yes, we can. Mute.
Oh.
Okay, done. Moving on.
Banned.
No, I'm not going to go that far.
Am I actually muted?
You were for a second, but I unmuted you almost right away.
I was kidding. Sorry.
No worries. I was going to comment some more stuff, and I was like, I should probably make sure I'm not actually muted before I start commenting. But I mean, like, Primal Judgment, the Ifrit music, is like, it's not like it's okay. This is a big climactic battle and all that, but I really like what Soken did with the having the primal music be kind of the prayers given by their followers. Like, it lets it be a bit more leitmotify, and it kind of lets the primal develop into their own characters.
Mm-hmm. Well, I think I don't know if they had the stories fully fleshed out when 1.0 was released or in development.
We will never know.
But,
no, we've been making this up as we go, dude.
Yeah, but I mean, when Yoshida kind of took over and brought on the different crew to kind of help with that, I think he wanted to expand upon a lot of that and give each of these quote unquote deities their own feelings, so that when Soken came in and he wrote Fallen Angel, when he wrote Under the Weight, when he wrote all those other primal themes, he was given the leeway to do
the
so.
Master's Anvil, is that what it's called? The one that they use for Ultima.
Whichever one, I can't recall.
Anyways.
But yeah, I mean, I think they were given that, they had an idea where they wanted to go with it, and they wanted the music to tell the story as much as the storytellers were.
Yeah, no, music is a fantastic way to tell a story, to evoke aspects of a character, to give a set of feelings. Like, look at earlier when we were talking about the version of difference between the major and minor pitched versions of the Moogle theme, and just how much that changed the mood of it.
Yep, it made it from a happy-go-lucky to very melancholy.
And a little bit scary.
Yeah, it went from, it's cute, it's funny. Ooh, it has a knife, that's cool. Oh, it has a spear, that's cool. Oh, but it's still kind of cute and funny. Thank you for helping me save my friend in this cave. Oh, sweet Jesus, it's huge. There's 7 of them. I'm on fire. The bard is dead. Oh, God, oh, God, oh, God. Heavensward was a mess. Like, just that key is enough to go from, I remember having 3 parties of these in Final Fantasy VI and having a really good time with it, to, oh fuck, I haven't done this battle synced in a really long time.
Somebody stop the black mage from casting flare.
Oh God.
Want to throw in a fun librarian side fact, talking about 1.0 and what their plans were. In the assets that shipped on the disc, Silvertear Lake was named insert lake name here, or some equivalent of that. Like, it did not actually get its name until it was downloaded from the day one patch.
Interesting.
Sounds right.
I have the disc. I should take a look at that.
There's a lot about one that I thought was interesting and intriguing, and there was a lot that was a hot mess.
All right. So basically, you know, when SE hired Uematsu Studio, which was named Smile Please, which is kind of a neat little name.
That's cute.
This was the first game in almost 10 years to be solely composed by Uematsu since Final Fantasy IX back in 2000. So, but the reboot and the expansions were composed by Soken, Tsuyoshi Sakito, and Ryo Yamazaki, with Uematsu, of course, contributing Dragon Song and Revolutions for as the main themes for 3.0 and 4.0. But unfortunately, 5.0 did not feature a song from Uematsu because he had become ill in 2018.
Yeah, which means that 5.0's iconic theme is very different in feel from Dragon Song and Revolutions, which also kind of fits with the, hey, we want to go to a complete other world, so having an otherworldly, very different in style thing kind of helps it force that tonal shift.
But oddly, also does not feature Susan Calloway.
Yeah.
I did notice that. That was very strange.
Yeah, because Answers, Dragon Song, and Revolutions all have Susan Calloway as the vocalist, whereas when Soken created One Brings Shadow, One Brings Light, he definitely went with a more masculine tone because it was a lot darker feel.
Yeah. Which, again, I think is we are going to a completely different world. And
yes,
in order to really enforce
literally.
No, we're in a completely different world, kind of like throwing out all the rules works. Like,
True.
I think it's a case of they're making lemons out of the lemonade, of like Uematsu taking ill and having to change his stuff, certainly maybe because of that, but then saying, okay, given that, like we were talking about earlier, given this limitation that we've been put under, what can we do and what can we evoke and how can we work with that?
But I mean, I would say that, you know, ARR and all of the expansions have definitely been put into masterful hands with Soken at the helm.
Agreed.
But you know, I do think that if it had not been for Uematsu and what he brought to Final Fantasy, to Square Enix, I don't think that the music for these games would be nearly as good.
Who would we have?
I couldn't tell you because I don't know. Literally, I don't know. Most of the names that I've seen here, I don't know. But with that, you know, I don't know if people really paid attention to who the musical composer was for video games for a very long time.
And now there's such a, we just think, oh, video game is made by, usually we thought of the publisher, and that was as far as we went. But now with the advent of how we can share media, how we can talk, how we can explain things, we can sit here and talk about different composers for 90 minutes, for one game franchise, for one game company. We haven't talked artists, programmers, game designers, level designers. We can look at a level and go, this level feels familiar. Oh, it's the same level designer from this other company, from this completely other genre.
Yeah, Mr. Ozma did this one.
Yeah, you can see
you can see Yoko Taro's influence on the battle with, you know, in the Nier raid. You can feel Nomura's hand when you look at Final Fantasy VII Remake.
Yeah.
Oh God, yeah.
And not just that, like, it's not just that we see this, but this becomes a selling point. They'll say, oh, hey, this is from the same person who brought you such and such. It's weird to compare to the early Atari game Adventure had one of the first Easter eggs because the people were told they were not allowed to sign their name or be credited on any part of it, and so someone buried his name in there as a little hidden thing,
which was discovered 30 years after the game was published.
But it's such a far cry from, okay, like, this is this thing where the individual does not matter, to, hey, the individual artist becomes a selling point.
I will say this. how many people were pre-ordering and ready to buy the Final Fantasy VII Remake because we knew that it was from Square Enix, because we knew it was Final Fantasy VII, because we knew Nomura was working on it.
Because we knew that Uematsu was helping with some of the music, because, you know, the original writers from the game signed back on to recreate it.
If I was told, hey, a company is making a game, do you want to support it? I'm going to go, well, I don't know. That doesn't really sound like something I'm interested in doing it. And then somebody goes, okay, so it's the guys from Bungie that originally decided to leave Microsoft and the same ones that helped them leave Activision, and they've teamed up with Volition and Deep Silver. And I'm like, fuck yeah, here's $1,000. Give me whatever they make. That sounds amazing. I don't even know what it's going to be, and it sounds great.
I threw in on a Kickstarter based almost entirely on the strength of Matsuno's name.
Well, I did the same thing for Pillars of Eternity because it was an Obsidian game. And it brought in writers like Chris Avallone and, you know, people who had done a lot of stuff with the genre that it was, you know, yes, the people who are creating the games are now being recognized for their talents. And it should be the same for the music, and I'm glad that we're seeing that. And, you know, a lot of these names were unknown to us for years. But, you know, the fact that now we can look at it and say, oh, yes, it was this person, and what they did is amazing. You can see their influence here, and here, and the person that worked with them afterwards was also influenced, and you see that there. And it's mind-blowing.
I appreciate that a lot of people have been going back and trying to find that information for older games, like taking your random NES or SNES game and digging through the credits, getting all the names out of it. So we can trace, oh yeah, this person, he was involved with this thing. Now I see a lot of the stuff of the early influences.
Yep. And then let's go ahead and finish up. We have one more quick to talk about before we jump into the last bit. The last mainline game, Final Fantasy 15. This one was basically written by Yoko Shimomura, and she had been on the Versus 13 project since the beginning. So she was working on this for 10 years.
Yeah. She actually has a long history in the game industry. Her stuff goes back to 1988.
Oh, yes. But I mean, the fact that she stayed on when this game had so many different iterations and thoughts. I think the game was basically rewritten 3 times in completely during that 10-year period.
And you can still see stuff where you're just like, oh, look, he's definitely supposed to be a l'Cie, like with some of his powers. Like, you can still see that, but that's 10 years. Yeah, that too. Oh, God.
I am never going to get tired of that.
No, don't. It's great. It's true.
I mean, but if it hadn't been for Uematsu in the beginning, you know, we wouldn't be talking about any of this.
I'm throwing this in here. We have gone this entire show and we haven't touched Yasunori Mitsuda yet. I mean, like, there's still so much.
Oh, I mean, I've only talked about the main lines. I mean, there are there's also Tactics. There are Crystal Chronicles. There is all of the different
subclass, subgenre.
The 13.2, 13.3. Yeah, I mean, I didn't. This is not a comprehensive thing. If you want a comprehensive, I did utilize Wikipedia for this. Thank you so much. I'm gonna link them right now.
To that end, for our listeners, and whether you're on the podcast or you're watching us on Twitch, let us know what you guys want to talk about the next time we do a music episode. Do we want to go in depth on a specific game? Do we want to go in depth on a specific style of music?
Yeah, do we want to talk about battle music?
Talk about the sound effects.
Yeah, I mean, that's a big thing too. I mean, or do we want to just go down in order? Do we want to start with the beginning? Do we want to start with 1? I mean, do we want to go with what people would consider probably one of the greatest musical scores in Final Fantasy VI? Maybe we want to start with the game that we're playing right now, Final Fantasy 14. You know, what do you want to hear? Let us know. We'd love to hear back from you guys to figure out which way we should start with this, because I mean, we could easily get a couple of dozen segments on this.
Having every character in 6 have their own leitmotif, really? Oh man.
Yeah.
Gee.
Anyway,
sorry.
Beyond that, then, I mean, the music is so iconic, it actually spawned multiple traveling concert series. The most notable being Distant Worlds, which is a full orchestral traveling organization that does beautiful covers of Final Fantasy themes and travels across the globe to bring it to fans.
Hell, their name is taken from a Final Fantasy song.
Final Fantasy from Final Fantasy 11, correct?
Distant Worlds Together.
Yep, 11.
Sung by Susan Calloway.
Which an NPC is even singing in the Weavers Guild.
Wait, are you serious?
Yes.
Holy shit, that's awesome.
The one who's sitting spinning thread, like she occasionally pops up a little dialogue box where she's singing some of the lyrics of that.
I know where I'm teleporting to as soon as the show's over.
If you have not had a chance to see Distant Worlds, once this whole pandemic thing is over and they resume their touring schedule, go check them out. I got to see them.
Consider doing an show.
Maybe.
I've seen that they were gonna do something on the web through ASEN, Anime Central. I think it was a Q&A thing, but I think because I think ASEN is doing a lot of online stuff for their con because the majority of it was closed, but they wanted to still do something for the fans.
Right.
But
Distant Worlds has also been known for using local performers for a lot of their shows because they travel with a lot of stuff, and a lot of their chairs are mains that they travel with. But like the fill out, like the rest of the orchestra is the actual orchestras from specific towns that we go to. So like when I went and saw it in Portland, they had a choir backing them for a couple of the songs, Liberi Fatili, for example.
And One Winged Angel.
One Winged Angel, things like that. As we were standing outside chatting, one of the people in the uniform, obviously part of the choir, I said, "Hey, thank you for your performance tonight. You know, the choir was amazing. You know, please pass that on to your vocal coaches." And she goes, "Oh, thank you so much." And like I heard her voice and she smiled and she had this like ridiculously oversized set of braces. And I stopped and I looked at my girlfriend and my friend and I looked at the girl's mom and I was like, "May I ask a rude question?" The mom goes, "Sure." And I look at the girl and go, "What year were you born?" And the girl goes, 2001. And I just about collapsed into dust. I was like, oh my God, you're singing tracks from Final Fantasy VIII. You weren't alive when that game came out.
I mean, to be fair, that's true of all classical music.
Yes, but that's hundreds of years. That's giraffe money levels of numbers. This is like, oh God, I was in high school when this came out and you were not in existence yet as a person.
Don't mind me. I'm just over here making your reminders of mortality worse.
It was such a crazy concept. But then as we were driving home, I thought about it and my roommates and I were talking. We just went, the fact that she wasn't alive when it came out, she could still perform it and enjoyed performing it with her peers and enjoyed this entire experience. And we're coming in as people that played this game when it came out. We both approached this exact same event from completely different starting points, and we both had a really positive, cool experience.
Absolutely.
I mean, there's more than one reason I made the comparison to classical music.
Yeah, it's insanely cool. It was so much fun.
And then besides...
Yeah,
Go ahead.
I want to, and I remember, especially with some of the earlier concerts in the series, seeing news articles that we're talking about, and sometimes they would interview like the various orchestras and performers doing it, and especially early on, there was a mix between, hey, this is really cool, I think it's fun that we get to do new, exciting, fresh stuff, an occasional, yes, I actually play these games, I'm so excited, and then some people who are like, ugh, it feels so demeaning to do this, like, these are just games. That latter one I've seen a lot less expression of over the years.
Because as they look at it, I mean, if you look at the music from a musical perspective, a lot of it is genius.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like they kind of just needed to get used to the idea.
When you first hear video game music,
you think da 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 da.
Exactly. What you think is the the Mario athletic theme, right? You don't think answers off the top of your head unless you're steeped in the media environment, at which point, yeah, you do think of answers and Dragon Song.
You don't think One Winged Angel. You don't think of the aria from 6. You don't think of Battle on the Big Bridge.
Bring it back a decade or so, and maybe you're thinking of like Pac-Man and things like that.
Was there actually
sound effects?
Was there actually music in Pac-Man?
I think there were like some light little things, and then there was mostly the boop 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 boop.
There's music between levels. The actual playability, there's no background music.
There's like the cute little jingle in between levels.
Yep.
Well, I suppose Donkey Kong had but yeah, which was
what you're trying to jump barrels,
right? But no, I mean, the complexity and beauty that we've been able to get from music now, it's night and day.
Yeah,
technology is what's allowing it.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes I'll just be like humming one of the two, like I would hum Eternal Wind when I was at work, and people would be like, "Oh, what's that? It's really pretty."
Oh yeah, from 3.
And so on.
All right. On the opposite side of the spectrum from Distant Worlds is a small chamber orchestra group called A New World Final Fantasy. It's about a 13-piece chamber orchestra that travels and plays in small intimate venues and does another number of different Final Fantasy themed songs. And I've actually gotten to see them twice, and it is an amazing experience to hear the differences in the smaller scale, but the feeling is still there, and they put in a lot of work and effort to do that.
Like, I kind of feel like I'd want to be wearing a smoking jacket and carrying a snifter of brandy.
Well,
like, it just sounds fancy.
It's more casual, I think, because a lot of it's held in smaller bars. They're playing for about 100 to 150 people instead of three to 4,000.
Maybe not snifter of brandy in that case.
No,
like that would be so cool, as opposed to seeing, like, I've only seen Distant World, so I've only seen the full orchestral where there's thousands of us.
Mm-hmm.
Same.
Yep. Like I said, I went to Distant Worlds back last March, and like I said, it was amazing. I highly recommend going, but like I said, it was at a large theater, and I think that one holds about 3,000 people at its full capacity. Versus I've seen Distant Worlds twice, and like I said, it was at a bar, and there was about 100 people in the audience.
You'd always be there in the corner.
But the fact that it was really nice, because the last time that we went to Distant Worlds, we actually got the meet and greet tickets, so we actually went up and talked with the conductor, and Benjamin Nuss was the traveling pianist that goes with Distant Worlds, and he is just amazing to talk with. It was nice to be able to go.
That would be fun. I haven't gotten a chance to meet him.
He is.
Yeah. That is something that's on my list now. Thanks for that.
Yeah. If you get a chance to see, literally, if once everything clears up, if a Distant Worlds a New World is in your area, go see it. It's not expensive. I think the meet and greet tickets were like $60 a piece.
That's.
I mean,
that's like the low tier Distant Worlds tickets.
Yeah, I mean, well, I think I got nosebleed tickets for Distant Worlds, so I think we spent about $50 for that, and that didn't include any meet and greet. Whereas, like I said, for $65, we got to actually after the show, we went up and we shook hands with I believe it was Eric Roth was the
Artie Roth?
No,
you mean?
Eric, no, Tim. Is it Arnie and Tim?
I think it was Arnie and Tim, yeah.
Yeah, so my apologies. I have too many names in my head.
There's too many good people that make Final Fantasy music.
Arnie Roth is the conductor for Distant Worlds.
Mm-hmm.
And well, let me look this up just to make sure I get the right name, because I don't want to be that guy.
Yeah. Like, it kind of feels like something that might be fun to dress up just a little bit for. Like, hey, we're
you absolutely can. Eric Roth. I was
okay.
right. I was right the first time. Met Eric Roth and Benjamin Nuss, and it was myself and Yelta and Nick Nar. I believe, yeah. Pixie was there with us too, and it was such a fun time.
That sounds like a blast.
Yeah. Highly recommend. Absolutely go. But those aren't the only ones. Those are the biggest ones, and they've been going for the past 5-6 years, I suppose. Or has Distant Worlds been going for longer than that? Now I know they have 5 albums out now.
I could tell you that I think it was Distant Worlds. The first, one of the earliest concerts was in 2005 because I went to it just before I graduated college. That was at the Walt Disney Hall in Los Angeles.
And I know there was one. The precursor to Distant Worlds was, I believe, in Chicago, and it was called something Friends.
Dear Friends.
That may have been the one that I went to.
Yes.
Because I know the one I went to was like one of the first ones that they actually had in the U.S.
And that became Distant Worlds.
Yep.
Dear Friends was actually scheduled for Seattle. I had tickets. It got canceled. I got refunds and then Dear Friends was scheduled. And then when Distant Worlds came out, I was like, oh, I want tickets. I went to buy them. And then as soon as I bought them, I got a phone call from Benaroya Hall that like, you had credit, right? And I was like, what? They're like, yeah, from that other Final Fantasy concert that we canceled like ages ago. So I accidentally got because they couldn't refund me because of the way their system worked.
You got an
So
upgrade?
instead, they just upgraded my tickets. And then I was like, cool, I have these tickets. I bought 2 tickets. I had nobody to go with. So I just ended up going and sitting next to an empty chair.
Put your feet up.
I did. It was kind of sad, but it was fine.
All right. Let's kind of finish up here.
Yep.
There was
Let's get you to bed, my dude.
Lately, or some of the newer ones they've started touring with now. There's actually a Final Fantasy 14 orchestra that has had a couple of tour dates, and there are plans to do a Final Fantasy 7 remake orchestra that will. I'm sure they will tour once this whole thing.
They're figuring stuff out.
Yeah. Once everything kind of gets back to normal, they had a tour planned for a number of the Final Fantasy 7 remake songs, which are beautiful. Such a good job. And they also spawned a few side groups, like the Star Onions, the Black Mages, and of course our favorite Soken-led group, the Primals.
Bow down, Overdweller.
Under the weight.
See what this music does to us. I mean, it gets us sitting here talking for an hour and a half
About music.
Well,
it's great.
a little over an hour we've been talking about the music, and I figured this would be probably about 25 minutes worth of content, and we've stretched it out to an hour.
Hey, it's us.
Several of those, like, I didn't even mean to. Like, it just started playing as just like singing along practically by reflex.
Yeah, I mean, the thing with Final Fantasy music is when you really appreciate the game, the music becomes something else to you. It's a part of you then, and you you just can't help but revel in it, and it's such a happy thing.
Like, I've started humming various pieces just for the, hey, I kind of could use the mood that this gives me. Like, it becomes this thing that's like worked really deep into that. This music is associated with this feeling, with this situation. Like, it's such a great job of conveying a set of feelings, of becoming associated with a moment, with a thought.
Yeah, and if you enjoy this music, Square Enix has produced a number of soundtracks. There are literally dozens of Final Fantasy soundtracks available through different mediums. You can buy physical copies, you can get digital copies. I strongly recommend looking at Apple Music, Google Music, going to Amazon, where your local music store, if it's open. You know,
remember when the only option? Remember when the only options were super expensive imports with all the liner notes in Japanese, or slightly sketchy Napster downloads?
Or some weird guy on pulling something out of his trunk, maybe. or like at the side of an anime convention, or a weird dealer table that pulled out just some odd stuff?
Okay, I was about to say no, but then you said at a convention. I was like, okay, that's fair. I didn't go to very many conventions.
I definitely had access to Kinokuniya. There's a location in Seattle, and I would find the code for the actual CD in Japan. And I'd be like, hey, can you guys get me a copy of this? And they were like, yeah, sure, no problem. And they'd bring it in, and it would be exorbitantly expensive. But I would show up and I would buy it, and then people would see me buying it. They'd be like, do you have more of those? Can I get a copy? Can I get a copy? And they're like, oh God. And then after a while, I was like, hey, can I get a copy of these 2 CDs? And it was soundtracks for an anime. And they're like, okay, sure, cool. And when I got there, they were like, oh, right, you're the Beck dude. And I was like, I'm the whatever, sure. And they pulled out 2 boxes, opened both, pulled a CD out of each, and handed them to me. And I was like, what are you doing? And they were like, dude, do you have any idea how much random crap we have sold because of you? So then every time I came over and I wanted Final Fantasy soundtracks, they were like, yeah, we have them. We just hold 1 or 2 of each one until you or one of your friends shows up. And if you guys haven't shown up in a couple of weeks, we put them out.
Nice.
We were that notorious for buying Final Fantasy music, and it was $50, $60 a CD.
Yeah.
It sounds like it was something where there was an appetite for it, just that no one knew until someone started actually asking.
It was 1997, 1998,
right.
1999. I mean, we were riding the bus down there. We weren't old enough to drive yet. Like, it was crazy long time ago. But because of that, all of a sudden, Kinokuniya got known for having a massive, massive music selection. And they started doing custom orders. They don't even have CDs on file anymore. They just do custom orders because it's easier.
Nice.
Yeah, I can see that.
Final Fantasy helped a company somehow.
The world is weird.
Thank you,
It
Uematsu.
Thank you, Uematsu-san. Arigatou gozaimashita.
What he said, my pronunciation sucks.
So yeah, that is basically that is an overview. A very high level overview, and we got pretty in depth, but that's still very high level.
We could go so into the weeds if we wanted to.
Like I said, this is going to be a couple dozen parts, potentially.
I'm looking at my base. I have been staring at my base this entire episode. Do you have any idea how obnoxious it is that I'm not playing it right now?
Because you want to start playing a few beats from something in Final Fantasy?
Possibly. My hand is kind of healed, so I can actually play again, so that'll be good.
All right. So yeah, definitely let us know what you guys want us to discuss on the next Music of Final Fantasy segment. We'll come up with a snazzy name for that or something like that, because we've got the Librarian's Corner, we've got the Prep Station. We need to come up with something for the music. So,
other than Jam Session,
that might be an interesting one. But maybe if we can get something that's a little
/perform.
That's a little harder to convey.
Yeah.
And it's very Final Fantasy 14. Maybe we can come with something else, but it's a work in progress. As of now, unnamed musical segment.
It's going to be like Untitled Goose Game.
You have to be really careful because saying stuff like that, yeah, you end up with Untitled Goose Game and Bodie McBoatface. Like, yeah.
You're not wrong. And in fact,
You are technically correct. The best kind of correct.
I've used that a lot tonight.
You
I'm okay with that.
Well, guys, that is going to do it for this episode. If you like what you heard on this one, please make sure to like, subscribe, or follow us here on twitch.tv/PhoenixDownRadio. Or if you're listening on the podcast, make sure to follow us on Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Stitcher, or whatever podcatcher you happen to use. And if possible, try and leave us a rating and review. It really does help others in the community find our podcast, as well as lets us know what you guys are thinking of the show. If you really dig the show, like I said, you can consider subscribing here at twitch.tv/PhoenixDownRadio and get access to a number of subscriber-only emotes. And you can also, if you want to support us out on patreon.com/PhoenixDownRadio, like our amazing friend Aurori Fenrir. At that point, when you support us in that way, it helps to cover things like the hosting costs, all the behind the scenes stuff, help us to improve the quality of our show, of our stream. and I'll just do some fun things as well. But whatever kind of support, whether it's emails, likes, tweets, or retweets, subs, donations, whatever, it's always greatly appreciated because we just love interacting with you guys. And we wouldn't be doing it if we didn't enjoy hanging out with all of you. If you want to check out all of the backlog of our podcasts, you can go to our website, phoenixdownradio.com. If you have a question, recommendation of something we should cover in the upcoming music segments, or just want to say hi, you can email us podcast@phoenixdownradio.com, or you can hit us up on Twitter @PHXDNradio. All right, who wants to start with shoutouts before we end this thing?
I barely did anything this week. I'm not sure I have shoutouts.
Well, maybe somebody who did something to help, that.
Okay, shout out to my friends Jay and Kelly who have been running board game evenings on Tabletopia. It's a service with a lot of free options that lets you play board games online, similar interface to Tabletop Simulator, and getting to hang out with people and roll some dice, even figuratively, was a really nice break from things. So shout out to them.
Awesome.
Yeah. You can find me on Twitter @FF14Seyrr. That's FFXIV SEYRR. You can also find me at our Discord server, which I'm generally keeping an eye on. Happy to answer lore questions or shoot the shirt about whatever you like.
All right. Taliz?
Shout out to my bandmates on Challenger Deep for working on figuring out a set list and what songs we want to rotate through. It's been a lot of fun talking about music with you guys for the last few days. Shout outs to my free company for not completely falling apart while I took a small break. Because I come back and there's a bunch of new people, and there's also a bunch of people that aren't in the free company anymore. So apparently some stuff happened while I was gone, and I need to figure that out. But shout outs to my friends on Unity. You guys are amazing.
And how can people get a hold of you?
Find me at Twitter @Taliz Marvelous, TALIZ Marvelous. I post a lot of crap about cars and travel.
Very cool. And I always want to shout out to you two for joining me tonight. Thank you, Taliz and Seyrr, for being a part of this, helping me to flesh out this topic that I started yesterday. Full disclosure. Like I said, when you go back to work, my entire schedule changed, and I have to get used to getting through all of that. So it's like,
Even without that, schedules are just weird right now.
yeah, I mean, I would have had more time to work on it though, but it's like I didn't even know what we were going to discuss until probably Friday night at about midnight or something like that. It's like, what should we talk about? And then it came together, and hopefully you guys all enjoyed it. Shout out to everybody listening out on the podcast. To those of you joining us here live at twitch.tv/PhoenixDownRadio, thank you so much. Shout out to everybody who's been joining us at on the random streams, especially the ones where we're doing a lot of Twitch sings. Oh my god, I've been having so much fun with that. For those of you who are not aware, we are doing Extra Life again, and I have decided that anytime I am doing Twitch sings, if you make a donation to our Extra Life campaign, I will sing whatever you want. And the other night, our good friend Ko, who is a member of the Kugane Koban Crushers, speaking of which, we need to talk about that on the next show.
Oh shit, yeah we do.
That actually just ended. I feel bad.
Oh god, did we miss it?
We missed it.
Crap. All right.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Oops.
It was I do not remember any announcements about that.
I don't either.
Maybe,
anyway,
I'm just wondering if maybe your notifications were turned off on the channels.
Maybe.
Anyway,
he joined us. He joined me in one of those streams, and he donated during the to our Extra Life campaign, and he had me sing "Fox on the Run" by Sweet
in this voice, and it was amazing.
in fairness, a friend of mine asked, so you have co-hosts, and I go, well, yeah, I got added later. I've been the third host, and they're like, okay, can you kind of describe your co-hosts? Because I know you, but I don't know who they are. And I said, well, here's a video of Klauss singing $1 Million by Bare Naked Ladies. So that was how a friend of mine was introduced to you, was you duetting yourself singing $1 Million by Bare Naked Ladies.
In all fairness, that was an amazing duet.
That was freaking hilarious. But like, when that's your first intro to somebody, you know there's nowhere to go but uphill, and it's gonna be great.
Or downhill, depending on how much you like Bare Naked Ladies. So
It might actually be downhill, because like that was pretty great.
well, I mean, if you had introduced them to me duetting myself on Never Gonna Give You Up, that might have been, maybe a little bit higher bar to have to keep up with.
Rough. That's rough.
Anyway, if you guys see that we are streaming Twitch Sings and you want to donate to an amazing charity and make me embarrass the hell out of myself, please feel free to donate to our Extra Life campaign and have me pick a song. Let's do it for the kids. So for my you can follow me at PHXD and _KLAUSS on Twitter. As you can tell, I'm more worried about keeping the show going than promoting myself. So that's just kind of how it goes.
All right.
Anyway, for my co-hosts, Seyrr Tomono, and for Taliz Marvelous, I am Klauss Nightbringer, wishing everybody a wonderful evening. Thank you so much for joining us. Take care.
Great
Down Radio. The Metal Chocobo theme cover and many other music videos at youtube.com/GuiltOfYourRockYou. Closing music for this episode is provided by Guitar Wanker 90. Please check out their full version of Matoya's Cave and other rock video game covers at youtube.com/GuitarWanker 90. The views and opinions expressed in this episode are those of Phoenix Down Radio and its hosts and do not reflect the views of Square Enix.